and give nothing at all. Well, it's a doggone shame, but never too late for change. So if your love comes low, reach out and call his name. His name. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. Whenever you call. Never be lonely, lost in the night. Just run from the darkness, looking for the light. 'Cause it's a long, hard road, leads to a brighter day. Hey, don't let your heart go cold. Reach out and call his name. His name. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. Pushing Peace, 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 people. Today I want to talk about a few things that I just discovered in the African culture. Really shocking video of a woman that was forced to marry a dead man. And I guess this is part of the culture there in Nigeria. And I wonder why Nigerians don't talk about this, talk against it, say anything. They're constantly on YouTube talking about Black culture in America, and they never, ever air out what is going on in their own land. So I want to review some of the things that I've discovered, some of the videos. So there are some Africans talking about it, but you won't hear any of the Africans that are living abroad talk about these cultural practices. So I wanted to bring to light to Black Americans and to others that may not be aware that these things, these practices are happening in Africa. And that is why, you know, us as Black Americans should not revere other people's cultures, because they have their own shit that is hidden, that if you look into what they're about, you can discover different things that they do that is not as the way that they like to put it to us, the way they like to claim that their culture is superior to us, and all these things that they like to wrangle and dangle in front of our faces as something that we're supposed to be jealous of. But let's look at this video. Fair use of all videos for educational purposes, for research purposes, for observational purposes. Be proud of who you are, Black Americans. Stop glorifying other people's cultures.
And I started telling them that I cannot stay with a dead man, that I was too young to come and stay for a dead man. And his mother and his family now came with gifts and dowry and started begging for me to come and stay, to have children for their son, so that their son's name will not disappear.
What she's saying the person I was living with forced me to marry someone as exchange for the debt he owed him. So they do these different things for debt, for other things. They subjugate their women. There is no way around it. They subjugate their women in so many different ways. That's why it's shocking to me. It's very alarming to me when people go to Africa and they big up these African cultures as if they're better than ours. They're not doing their research.
Women, young girls, and teenagers are actually forced to marry dead men. The worst part is they are actually forced to go into prostitution to bear children for those dead men. This is Indego Obutimo community in Ebonyi State, Nigeria. For over 50 years, this community has been at war with Osogbo Esato, a community in Cross River State, due to land dispute ownership. In the bid to encourage these young men in Indego, known as warlords, young girls are forced to marry and bear children for them, even in their death, in order to continue their bloodline.
How it started is that it's not because I didn't marry him because before he died. I married him while he was alive. We actually discussed about marriage while he was alive. And I agreed to marry him. And we started dating. While we were dating, then the war broke out and they started talking about him going to fight. And he started preparing to go to war. Then I started discouraging him, same as his mother. We both did not want him to go for the war. And then the traditionalists, the traditional rulers said that women had no say as to who would go to war or not. Because if we did, then the person who would have succeeded would not succeed at the war. Then we decided to keep quiet, especially me. I minded my business. and he went for war. In fact, the same day that he went for war, before he got to evening, around 6 p.m., they brought his corpse back. They brought him back dead. That is how it started. And then my family came to take me, because according to the tradition, if they had not performed marital rites over my head, I have no business staying where they are burying him. And he was going to be buried immediately. So he said I should leave. And I started telling them that I cannot stay with a dead man, because since I agreed to marry him in life, now that he is dead, I'll have to go. And no rites have been performed on me. So my family agreed with me that that is also their thinking, that I was too young to come and stay for a dead man. Then I said okay, and I left with them. And his mother and his family now came with gifts and dowry and started begging for me to come and stay, to have children for their son, so that their son's name will not disappear. And my parents refused. My father said no, my mother said no. Me as well, I said no, that I will not come and stay like that, because I was still too young to stay with a dead man and be having children for him. And for how long will I stay like that? If I come and stay, I would think that he's going somewhere and that he will soon come back. And for how long will I do that? That I will not be able to do that. Then after a while, they came back and announced in the whole village that they had gone to Angmego, which is the Iji ancestral home, and that the deity had said, giving instruction that anyone who was ever betrothed or talking to or befriending or even promised marriage by a warlord who has died as a result of the war must be bound to the warlord to have children for the warlord. And because they had said those things, I became afraid. And then I found out that because I had refused, even after they said it, anytime I'm sitting down, I will see him. He will be standing in front of the door, blocking my way, and be looking at me with a machete, a machete. And I became sick. Anywhere I went, I would be seeing him. So I'll be sick, and then he will be calling my name. And I now asked him, I was thinking about it, and I asked God, is this how you want my life to be? If this is what you want for me, if this is how I will go because of this, something that my mother did, marriage that my mother did, and I was intending to do, if this is how I'm going to go, then I will agree. Then I saw him again and I told him, I agree to marry you in life, not in death. I warned you not to go for the war, but you refused. And so did your mother, but you refused. It is because of lack of counsel, not listening to people around you. That is how you died. So why are you now blocking my way everywhere? Why are you trying to kill me? Anywhere I'm going, I'll be hearing footsteps behind my back. If I stand and look back, I would be wondering, is it my footsteps that is sounding like that against another person's footsteps? I'll now realize that there is nobody standing there, but I'm hearing someone's footsteps. I will now stand and turn around again. I will not see anybody. So after this went on, then one of the days I went to have my bath, I knew I could feel the strong presence of another person there. I became really afraid. Yes. Then I started thinking to myself, since they have said this, that the deity, that all the culture and custom have instructed that we must be bound to him, but I will have no choice. If it is a good thing, I would stay. But if it is a bad thing, I will also stay. If that is how I will die, let it be. Then I decided that I would go and stay with him, to be bound to him. So immediately I agreed to go. All those fears disappeared. All the things that I used to see, the feelings, seeing his presence here and there, I stopped seeing him, I stopped hearing footsteps. And then I got myself. It felt as if something came out of my body, like a load left me, and I had my peace. And I stayed like that. And my mother, my father, they were always coming. His mother, they were also coming to my house to beg, but my parents refused. But at that point, I was now the one convincing my parents to let me go and stay, because my mind was already here. And then I could no longer refuse, even when I wanted to. I didn't have the urge to refuse anymore. So I told myself, I advised myself, but since I'm not the only one, there are so many women in this village. Almost every woman you see that their husband is dead, or even that they've had children. Me, I have not had children, and there are so many like me. And if that is what God wants, then I'll come and stay. If that was not what God wanted.
So I'm wondering how she was able to have kids if he was dead. Did they do something to make his semen come out? I'm kind of confused on that part. But he was a warlord. He was sent to war, and he perished. He was killed. And because she promised him in life that she would marry him, they pretty much tricked her into believing that she had to marry him nonetheless. And she convinced herself eventually, because of all the things she kept seeing and hearing, I guess his ghost, I don't know. But she convinced herself that she needed to go through with being married to a dead man. And that is a horrific thing to have to deal with as a woman. I cannot imagine. But this is her story. And I've never heard nothing like this before. But I wonder how many cases are like this. You said her late husband's brother wants to marry her. It's in the Bible also. I don't know if she mentioned the brother yet. Let's see.
He would not have allowed him die, even if it means.
And by the way, what's up to Tyron, Luis, Miss D, The Rock, and everybody in the clouds? If you have not yet, please like the video. This is a cultural practice that's done, I believe, there in Nigeria, where they force women to have to marry dead men to keep on the legacy of their name and make them have kids, which I'm trying to figure out, how can you still have kids unless there's some procedure or practice that they do to get the semen out of the man. Let's see.
The bullet will cut his leg. At least he would have been alive. We'll be using crutches. And if he's begging to eat, he will be begging. We are not better than those that are begging. But let us be suffering. It would have been better. We are not better than those who are suffering. Things have been staying like that. But God has been faithful. That is how it happened. As for my children, it is the dead man that is traditionally their father. Even though none of the children belong to him, because me and him, we had not even done anything. When I decided to come back and stay, that's how I now had the children. So my father was suggesting that his younger brother should marry me, but they refused. And I also refused, because the younger brother is not the one that suffered for me. But he, even then, while it was being talked about, he also started appearing to his younger brother, wanting him to remove his hand from his woman, so that he should go and marry his own woman. Then that he suffered over my head for me and him to stay, so that he's not going to let me go. So I now stopped. His younger brother stayed away from me. So it is from other men that I had these children for him. It is one man that impregnated me to have the first two children. But this last one does not belong to the same man. The last one has a different father. We are in the house of Ndidi Uche. And Ndidi Uche is one of the women who has been affected by the culture of female subjugation, where women who were betrothed to warlords are forced to be bound to dead warlords and have children behind the dead warlords. So you can see Ndidi Uche, and Ndidi has 3 children. The first one, which is 3, the second here, which is 2, and this baby that is just a week old, barely a week old. Ndidi has been in this situation, and even her mother-in-law is insisting she still continues to birth. And these children she has birthed are from 2 different men, and culturally owned, belong to the dead warlord. Ndidi is very much afraid because she has been told that if she refuses to stay and continue bearing children from different men for this warlord, that the deity that is worshipped by her community will kill her. So for fear of being dead or being killed or going against the custom and tradition of her people, Didi has stayed in this situation where she can barely feed and dependent on her mother-in-law who makes the rules, and whether or not she likes to, Didi is remaining here. Nothing Didi has to share with us.
Nobody cares about what the woman's feelings are about. Nobody cares about, how sickening that is, that she has to sleep with different men to bear kids for a dead man, or she's under threat of death. But where are all the online Africans who love to talk shit about Black American culture? Where are y'all at denouncing this type of practice? Where are y'all at? What's up, Alexis? I'm glad you're okay, because I saw your video yesterday about the earthquake. I'm glad that you're okay, but I'm pretty sure that was pretty scary. Glad to see you. You said, well, the kids are traditionally his, but they are not. They're not his biologically, but they're claiming those kids, her kids, that she was forced to have sex to make kids with, his kids. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy.
That she's willing to, if there is any opportunity for her to get a skill or a job and leave this situation, she's willing to take her children with her and find another place to live for a bit of freedom. It is one out of many young girls and women whom we found to be in this situation, and as you would see in our subsequent interviews. I'm not working, I'm not doing anything. The way we feed is through his mother, because his mother is a native doctor. So it's based on whatever people bring for her. That's how we feed, put food in our mouth. But when it comes to my children, it's very difficult for me. Very, very difficult for me. In fact, when I sit down, I'm always crying, because there is no way for me to get any personal money for myself and my children. Like if my children are sick like this, I'll have to go and work. There's no place for me to get money to help them. It's like I go to work, farm for people, cut grass, or do menial jobs. That's the only way I get money. Except my mother supports me to give me money, then I can take my children to the hospital. If not, there is no way. The men that slept with me to have my children, they don't help. In fact, sometimes when they even help at all, it's after I have begged and begged and begged, and then maybe they decide once in a long while so they give me anything.
This is Melva Nkechi, a young lady who runs an NGO called Catch Them Young Initiative, which she has used to support many of these girls with her limited resources. Melva currently has a plan to build a safe home for these girls and empower them with economic skills, so she's currently seeking a support. If you'd like to support her, please check the description of this video and you'll find her account details there.
Every state starts with the community. It is the communities that make up our state. And development is not complete if it's not grassroots oriented. And our work is not complete if we do not start, if we're not able to extend it and start within the villages to ensure that these kinds of stories are not heard amongst our people. Not for their mouths to be shut, not for it to be swept under the carpet, but that they do not actually exist in the first place. So I'll call on the governor to wade into this, and beautifully, the governor is a lawyer, he knows the law, and he knows how illegal these cultures are. I'm also happy that the Abakaliki local government chairman is also from this community, and he's aware about this law, this custom and this culture of bounding women to the warlords. And I'm also aware that he was part of those who worked tirelessly to broker peace in this community. I would say that more needs to be done. And I'll call on the international community to look into checks and balances for funds donated to governments to work on education and to work on women and girls issues, and we let this video, let what you're seeing, let the story be let it be like a light drawn into this community for you to see what is happening and for you to take action, to partner with us to help this community. Currently in the community, I think they have just one health center that is actually that was kept by. I'm glad that she told the story, but why aren't other Africans talking about this type of thing? You know, they're so used to giving out this false idea about what their culture is like on YouTube. You know, they brag about how their culture, they got culture. Black Americans ain't got culture. Everywhere you go, that's all you keep hearing. And I'm like, what culture practices are you referring to? Now, here's another story that I found also in Nigeria, where kids are deemed evil. I guess if their mothers die, you know, they're depicted as being evil, and they are murdered. They are murdered in Nigeria. So they're killing babies because they're depicted as being evil. Now, this is another belief system that they have. And, you know, a lot of these belief systems is taboos or stuff that they make up. But why are Nigerians constantly in our faces telling us we ain't got no culture when they're not calling out their own fucked up cultural practices is what I would like to know.
So if a child is born as twins, or is born as an albino or disabled, or if the mother of that child dies while breastfeeding that baby, those set of children are actually considered evil babies in this community.
So even twins, y'all, twins, disabled kids, or if the mom passes on while giving milk to the child, then those babies are deemed evil. Isn't that crazy?
If any of them visit me after we rescue a child, they ask me a question like, Pastor, are those your evil children still alive? Because their belief is that the gods will be coming to kill them even in my house.
I'm not talking about something that happened in 18th century. I'm talking about something that's happening right now in 2024 as we speak. Right now, people, parents rejecting their own baby just because they are born twins, or just because they are born as albino, or just because the mother unfortunately passed away while breastfeeding that child. So they reject the child and then consider that child evil.
As recent as last week Saturday, we have our youngest set of twins coming in. In fact, those twins are 1 week old today. They are 1 week old today. Yeah, they're exclusively on infant formula until they are 5 months.
I know it's difficult for most people to comprehend or to accept that such a thing can exist in this time that we live. But facts and evidences don't lie. What are 1 week old babies doing in this facility, if not that these babies has been rejected by their own parents just because they are twins? Could you imagine? Bring me to the next question. How do you even begin to take care of these kids? These kids are brought into this facility when they were just 2 days old. Right now they are 1 week old. It's a lot of tasks. How do you even begin to take care of them? Because their parents are still alive, but someone else now have to take care of these kids.
Even the mother that are alive for the twins is an abomination based on the tradition I told you. For a mother, a child that they say is evil, you can't breastfeed the child. This one, hope and goodness. When the mother brought them the first day, the children were crying. I was speaking with her, can you please breastfeed? She shrugged it off. And I understand why she did that. Not because she's shy, no. Because it's an abomination. That's one of the ways they deprive the children's survival.
So I've done a 30 minutes long documentary interview with Pastor Stephen all about this issue, which is on the channel. You can actually check it out. But this very video I'm doing right now is just to clarify some of the things I also did not talk about during the video. So basically, based on my interview with Pastor Stephen, this is a cultural practice that has been in existence for probably over 200 years. And also based on what he told me, this practice is also majorly found among the Basakoma people. They're the ones that practice this even much more.
Myself and my wife were working as missionaries in rural communities, planting churches. That was doing. And while we're doing our work, we started hearing stories of some categories of children being killed due to cultural beliefs. A story about children that are born as multiple bad twins or triplets not being allowed to live. There were stories like if a nursing mother dies, the child survives. The community said that child is evil and he must die. A child is born as albino, they said, because of the color of the skin. It's not a normal child that they killed. And then a child growing the upper tooth first is not also allowed to live. And then the last one, any child born with disabilities, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, whatever make a child to be deformed, they don't accept it. And after the first child we rescued, and subsequently, as she moved into the interior of FCT, we discovered that that story was not just restricted to the first village where we heard the story. We discovered that that story can be found among a particular tribal group, among the indigenous of FCT, the Basakomo tribe. And we discovered that wherever they settle, this story abounds around them. And we started pleading that since they believe that we have been reaching out to them as missionary planting churches, we not just plant churches, sometimes we also try to assist the villagers by providing dugouts well, in some places sponsor medical treatment for some of the villagers when they are sick. I think that was what gave them confidence to start responding to us, because we didn't actually start with saving children, like we started with outreaches, medical outreaches, and all of those stuff. So by the time we started asking, okay, those children you want to get, why don't you give us opportunity? We will rescue them, we will save them, and we will grow up with them. And that's how, one after the other, when we heard news that nursing mother had delivered and the nursing mother passed away, we'll go after them, played, and they give us the children. For twins, the father and mother may be alike. Most times, the mother and father of the twins or triplets are alike. Since the culture says they are forbidden children, the family, after speaking with us, they willingly give us the children. So that's how we got it.
That's crazy. Let me see what you guys are saying before I let it go on. Again, kids are depicted as being evil if they're twins, if they're deformed, if the mom gives breastfeeds the child and she suddenly dies, they're deemed evil. And a lot of times are killed. And what his organization is doing is taking the kids, before that happens, in hopes to save the kids. But this is the culture of some of the Africans in Africa. And they don't talk about this type of thing. They act like they're perfect. It's very interesting to me that this information is not out there like that. Let me see what you guys are saying. What's up, Lynn, Jackie, and everybody that's here? You said she's a wife for life, but to the late husband and his family. She is a slave to the late Warlock. She's a slave to the family. That is nothing that I would honor. That's nothing I would ever want to have happen. Vovo says she's a wife for life. Okay, I read that. Isn't that a form of enslavement, forcing marriage with anybody, let alone a dead man? Yeah, we're going to get into also a little bit later. Child are forced to have marriages with elderly men. That's part of the culture that they don't like talking about. Isn't that I read that. That's a brothel, you said? It may have been, I don't know. You have to understand that that's not everyone is well educated, and there is ignorance also. Many times it's just poverty. I have gone to Nigeria and there's lots of culture that I don't want no part of. Maycar culture that Black Americans need to get through their thick heads, not to be worshiping African culture better than their own. That's my point of this video, because too many of us are running around talking about our culture is so bad. but we have a choice. Our culture is so bad, but women are not subjugated. Our culture is so bad, but we're not forced to deal with dead men or have phobias about having kids and all these other things that are coming out about African culture. What people in Africa call culture is also behavior. I don't know what you call it, but they call it culture. I guess this is why Nigeria has 18.5 million orphans. Yeah, that's a lot. 18.5 million orphans. Wow. I have been there also. Where did you go? I have been there also. I'm never going to Africa. I'm never gone. I will never go. I'm showing videos about why you should respect your own culture and stop fascinating or fantasy or having fantasies about other cultures that's not reality on the ground. Twins are seen as evil in parts of Southeast Nigeria. Sad. Yes, it is. People in America are called to not have culture because of lack of respect and bad behavior. You guys are scapegoating us for your own failures in African culture. You guys are scapegoating us as a means of upgrading your own sense of entitlement or trying to pretend more than what it is. I guess you guys are big posers, a lot of y'all. That's what Africans say. That's what they say. But again, pointing fingers at us is not changing what's going on the ground in Africa. Pointing fingers about what we're doing is not changing how you treat your own children and how you treat your women. So they need to stop doing that. Everybody is a witch or a wizard in that place. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that another time. A lot of that stuff is going on. Money rituals is going on that nobody likes to talk about. This is very primitive practices or thinking. Yes, it is. They need to talk about their own stuff, about correcting their own cultural practices and leave us alone. So when they say culture, it means the traditions of having respect for elders, having respect for your communities and traditions and your indigenous tribe. Respect, subjugating women, though, Makar. Subjugating women, not giving them a choice to marry who they want to marry. Forcing them to be child brides to men, old men. How do you have respect for that? I don't have respect for none of that. Listen, I have said a lack of education. Well, y'all need to start educating them. Why aren't y'all telling them that that's not right to do? I live in Canada. I'm sure you do. Yes, because they also have witchcraft in Nigeria. Yes, they do. People also do it out of fear. And yes, it is sad. A lot of witchcraft in the North. What happens in America? Yes, a brothel where there is a madam and ladies to please men. I'm sure that they have that going on. You all come from Africa. I don't come from Africa. I come from America. Good morning. What's up, Easy Axe? You've been on fire lately? Yes, I have. Does that not happen in America? No, we don't marry old men forcefully. We don't marry dead men forcefully. We don't have FMG forcefully. We have rights as women. No, that's not our culture. Yeah, they're fleeing from their own culture. And then they come to America and they act brand new around us. And that's why I'm pointing out what's going on over there, because you guys are not going to be able to get away with lying to us like you do. No, we don't. Laura Makes Away says, I was speaking to Mar Carr. Okay. What's up, Four Rivers? How you doing? Thought it would come with me. I thought I could come with me. Huh? I don't get that. What's up, Sheena? And we just need to all respect each other's culture and stop hating. I don't respect subjugating women and girls. I don't respect that at all. So sorry about that. Not all Black Americans lack culture and good behavior. If you only look at the bad actors, that's all you see. That's all they show. And they love to show how bad off we are so that it elevates their own cultures in their mind. They act like their culture is flawless. That's what they be running around on YouTube acting like their culture is pristine and glorious and godly and everything's perfect about it. And I find that very fascinating that they get away with doing that. And they bring their backwards behavior here. Yes, they do.
Glad to see you too, watching playback. Okay, Lynn says they are fleeing all over the place, bragging about their culture they fled from. Exactly. If it was so grand and so great, they would stay. They don't stay, they flee. The culture of Black American is always hijacked by newcomers. Yeah, everywhere you go, they're hijacking our culture. I have been to Nigeria, and all of this is being blown out of proportion. There are the most lovely people. I'm white, by the way, and I have kids that are half Nigerian. Good for you. But blown out of proportion where? You're hearing the story of them talking about killing kids. What are you talking about? I need you to do an episode on birth tourism. It's a big problem with them. Oh, yeah. Okay, and they all treated me so well. I went to the village and I never have seen none of what is being said. Of course, they're going to treat you better because you're white. That's what they like to do. It's back because of poverty. Okay, well, everybody has a reason for why their culture is not okay, but let y'all talk about Black Americans. Y'all don't give us no slack. So I'm not giving y'all none. I'm going to show it for what it is. And these are the words of Africans that are telling their story, not me. I'm just presenting it for what it is.
So that's how we got involved with the saving of the life of the children.
So the killing of these children is not something that is done openly, like you bring out the child and then you just kill the child or you throw the child away or take the child to the evil forest. No, that's not what happened. The killing of these children is done subtly. So basically these children, once a child falls into this, category that is considered as an evil child, the child either get denied or deprived from food or probably get poisoned, and so slightly just dies, and so that way it will look as if it's a natural cause of death. I mean, if a child is not given food or the child is poisoned, he's going to die. When you wake up and the child is dead. So that's how those children are actually killed, but of course it's not done openly, and because this thing is a cultural thing, it's also not done openly. People don't know, they don't talk about it. So the only way that even Pastor Stephen was able to discover this was because he was working among the people, and so the people has opened up and was able to find this culture. If not, you will never know.
It's not something you just wish away. Even when the federal government did through the FCT administration, they worked on this story too. After they interviewed me and asked me to come and tell them what is happening, they set up committee to work with the communities. But it is not work you do in a hurry. To a tradition that may have been existing for over 200 years, you won't expect advocacy of just 5-10 years to just uproot it and everybody will now agree with it. It should take time. Like we have some families now. Part of our story is that some of the children that grew up here, after all our engagement with the community, some of the families are now coming back and saying, now, our eyes have been opened that no child is evil. Can we have our children back? Successfully, we have returned 28 back to their families because that is our intention. That once you change your mindset that the children are no longer evil, at any point you want them, we return them to you.
And some of you also asked during the original documentary, can these children be adopted? No, these kids can be adopted, as Pastor Stephen also explained in this video. Basically, these children are not really orphans, although they were rejected, but the work of Pastor Stephen is to keep these children, first of all, save them from being murdered, and also keep them. Over time, when these children grow up, they can go back to their parents, they can go back to their villages, they can go back to their roots. And also, if the parents changes their mind, over time, they can also come back and take their kids back. So far, he has been able to reconcile about 28 kids back to their family. So many parents are changing their mind and coming to take back their babies.
With all that we have done, in the recent time, I would like to say that the outright killing is almost zero now. But the challenge we have is that some of the people having those categories of children are still having a little fear in their heart that, okay, everybody, government, foreign agencies, everybody is saying it's abomination, it's also evil to kill a child. That we will not kill, but we will not live with them. As recent as last week, Saturday, we have our youngest set of twins coming in.
The one thing for sure is that for the fact that these villagers still bring their kids to this heritage home shows that this culture is still alive and well-rooted among them. Of course, many of them probably have changed their mind. Like he said, they are no longer probably murdering those kids. They try to bring those kids to him. But also many more, of course, who probably do away with those kids the way they have been doing. So that means the child just dies and you fact is that those communities are in the very rural areas in the FCT, so nobody records these things, nobody monitors these things. It just happens. So what's the way forward? Basically, it's a cultural belief and something that cannot just change overnight. So more advocacy needs to be done, but not just advocacy. These communities, if you go into some of these communities, you get to realize they don't have social amenities, they don't have any government presence. You probably will not even find hospitals or clinics in those places. So government needs to do more, first of all, by reaching out to them, bringing development to their people, bringing them water, bringing them light, bringing them good roads. By so doing, then you can begin to do advocacy that can really work. I mean, you can't just come and start talking, and people will change. But the more development comes to them, the better they will change. And of course, adopt, the modern way of life. So this is something that is very important for those in authority to really do. And of course, one thing for sure, if you ask those in authority if this culture actually exists, let's say you go ask the local government chairman or anybody in authority, of course they're going to say it doesn't exist. You don't expect them to say it exists. It doesn't. But the truth is, fact and evidence is not lying. So instead of us living in denial, it is better that we actually step in fully to continue to assist and to help these people so that this cultural, practices can be eradicated, totally, and fully. But it's going to take time, but it's something that needs to be done.
And they need to be criticized and they need to be pointed out. And I'm glad that David Nekwa, if that's how you pronounce it, is bringing out stories that I have never really heard before. But these practices, so-called cultural traditions, happen in Nigeria. Why aren't the Nigerians outraged that this practice is still going on? Why do they keep their dirt hidden? That's what I want to know. They're always in our spaces talking shit to us about our culture, though. But why won't they talk about their own? Let me see what you guys are saying. You said it's bad because of poverty. Do you realize you are married to a man that could possibly have a whole wife? Even when you go with him, he has a wife that is cousin or sister. I heard about that. That's how they hustle foreigners abroad. They pretend like they're sisters or cousins, and they be having a whole wife hustling the foreign woman, unbeknownst to them, for their money. I heard about that. Len M says they are not on social media talking about their own culture. They're on social media talking about Black Americans every waking moment of the day. In fact, here's an example of that. We have so many Africans that love to find anything talked about with Black Americans, and I'm sick of it. I'm actually sick and tired of it. That's why I'm pointing out what y'all should be talking about versus focusing hyperly on us. But here's an example of an African woman that came to America. She's crying and whining about Black Americans rejecting her supposedly for her dark skin. And here you have this discussion about African Americans rejecting an African. This is what they love to talk about.
I gravitated towards the Black culture, which is my people, my descendants, even though not all of their history reconciling with mine in specific, but they are my people, they are my African descendants, they are my ancestors' children. I gravitated towards them, and I knew they were my African ancestors' children because of what they teach us in school back home. And it was weird because it's I wanted to be accepted by my own people, and I'm too Black, I'm Darth Vader, African booty scratcher. But the weirdest thing I think for me is I got let down by my own community. This is where I'm supposed to feel safe.
Hi, brothers and sisters. Hope you're doing good wherever you're watching us from. This is Fred from Africa. I found a video here that actually pissed me off from some people who see color as a thing in our society. Let's dive in, watch this video, guys, then come back and discuss.
Coming to America, I gravitated towards the Black culture, which is my people, my descendants, even though not all of their history reconciling with mine in specific, but they are my people, they are my African descendants, they are my ancestors' children. I gravitated towards them, and I knew they were my African ancestors' children because of what they teach us in school back home. And it was weird because it's I wanted to be accepted by my own people, and I'm too Black, I'm Darth Vader, African booty scratcher. But the weirdest thing I think for me is I got let down by my own community. Like, this is where I'm supposed to feel safe.
When you said that you first arrived to the U.S. and you were called names like African booty scratcher and Darth Vader and all these names that were against your dark skin, it was by who? By Black Americans?
It was by my own people, the people that I wanted solely to be accepted by, yes.
When you came to this...
But see, this conversation is always being had. They'll find something or some African and claim that they were called ugly, and they go and they make videos. They make a whole lot of money off of content with the title of African American. But why won't he talk about what the culture of Africa is about? Why won't he ever point out anything? I'm looking at his platform. He rarely talks about anything else but Black Americans. Everywhere you turn, oh yeah, he's talking about a little bit of Africa, but he's not talking about the culture and the things that's being done wrong in Africa. But they always find something to tell about or talk about what we so-called are doing to them. They won't talk about what they do to themselves. They won't talk about how women are being subjugated, in which I would never want to partake in their culture because I don't like the fact that women don't have a voice. They don't have a choice. So I don't want no part of it. And that's my option. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to be putting African culture over my own because it don't make sense to do. And you hear these stories and you find out that they're not to be revered. They have issues too. Everybody has something that you can improve on. But I feel bad for the women and little girls that have to be subjected to being done the way that they're done. Let me see what else you're saying. Marquet, they treat you well because they worship white people. Facts. They are bad to each other and they kiss your behind. That's what I've been noticing. I went to meet with his family and mother. They accepted me into the village, and you're known as a traditional wife. So no, I'm his wife. I would have not been taken there if that was the case. Okay. Do these people realize that the Most High sees them? They have no morals and no soul. Marquet says also, and yes, this does happen in Nigeria, but it's a lack of education and poverty. Thank you, all people abroad, or Winbo, or whatever it's called. I don't know. Yes, because of lack of education. And they know you just don't know. Foolish. I see it all the time. Okay, I'm out. Let's go there then and help all the orphans. It's not my problem. It's your problem. If you're over there in Africa, you help them. You want to talk about it, then let's educate them and send them money instead of hating. I'm not hating. I'm illustrating. Just like you guys are constantly talking about Black Americans. Illustration. I'm showcasing what you guys are about, what Africans do, which they never talk about. So I have to showcase to my audience the truth, because we're up here glorifying African culture for what? Nigerians need to educate their people and teach them morals and integrity and get off of social media talking about Black Americans. Bing, 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 bing. They have platforms. They could do what I'm doing. They can educate their people and tell them it's not right for them to do this to women and kids. That's what they should be doing. Don't put the responsibility on us. It's not our problem. But I'm just showcasing, stop glorifying African culture because there's things about it that's not good. You said 75% of Nigerians say they want to flee Nigeria to Europe or United States. All of them do. Then stop talking about it. Nope, I'm going to talk about whatever I want. If you don't like it, beat it. Yes, because of poverty. And you actually look like Ice Cube. Who does? Okay, I do help the children in the village already. You all have been going to Africa with your colonization for years. For me to go with you would be like sleeping with the enemy. I heard that. I have to start up in Nigeria with my husband, helping the locals in agriculture to help them feed themselves. Then you need to go do that. You're there. So get to getting. Immigration into the United States has greatly affected the Black American communities because they're usually bring drugs in that get dumped in black neighborhoods. A lot of that stuff always comes to us. We all get everything bad towards our culture, towards our people. You said, Volvo says it will only change when old chiefs pass on and younger educated men are given the chieftains. We have to wait and see, I guess. So I'm Polish, who my people even went to Haiti back in the day to help them break free of slavery. So stop this talking because I'm white. I'm sure that your people also did some atrocities, so I'm not propping you up, Marquet. Tell Nigerians to help their own people. Exactly. There's a slew of them all over the place talking shit about Black Americans. They should be the ones helping their own people out. Yes, me and my husband doing that already. Keep doing it. You all just have nothing to talk about. I have plenty to talk about. This is one topic. She is not our people. Exactly. I don't know what she's talking about. Her own people needs to be helping her out. Rigo, the Aboriginal, what's up? We are not Africans. We are Americans. Facts. Okay. Where is your DNA? Again, here we go with that. Go teach your white people where their DNA comes from. If you don't like the conversation, leave, go back to Poland. Exactly. Let me see. I know my roots, whatever. Lynn says, we all know the DNA cannot tell you where you from or your ethnicity. DNA is for entertainment purposes only. It's on the box. Facts, Lynn. We come from the United States. Facts. Yes, sometimes Black Americans do make fun of one another because of skin color. This is because of the abuses they endured from the white colonizers. All colonized countries do that. But we don't bleach our skin, at least, unlike a lot of other people in other cultures do. Let me see. Geneticist Adam Rutherford said that Black Americans' genome is very different from Africans. We're different people at this point. We're not the same. I wish they would stop saying that bullshit. They don't say that to the other Africans across the border, but they talking that bullshit to us conveniently. It's things about our culture that's not good. Of course, there's things that we can personally change, but the government has always been against us and putting drugs in our community and doing the LGBTQ agenda and all this other stuff. The government allows to happen to our culture on purpose. And we have got to raise up and change that if we want a future, if we want to save our culture. That's for our conversation to be had among ourselves, not with you, though. Okay, Africans are talking about Black Americans because they want them to put them on a pedestal. That's exactly what I feel like. Because the minute you're worshiping them, you're suddenly their friends. When you start telling them what you learned about their culture and what you don't like, then all of a sudden they want you to stop talking about Africa. Afternoon for Black in chat, because they're now in our backyard. They see we as a nation seem to be insecure and they're feeding off of that. Yes, they are. That's why I do these videos, to just elevate our own morality, our own esteem, self-worth. We got to stop elevating other cultures over our own, because it don't add up if you look at what's really happening. Africans say they are smarter than Black Americans. They should be able to educate themselves. Exactly. If you're so smart, fix your problems. Yeah, the trolls are in here heavy. God dang. But if you talk about Black Americans, nobody comes to the rescue. They love talking about, just look at all the times they talk about us every waking moment of the day. But I talk about them one time, they're up in here talking crazy. Africans glorify their culture when they flee to United States and talk about Black Americans have no culture and telling us to go to Africa. That's all they do. They only find pride when they leave their country. They're respectable Africans, and they're Black Americans that are responsible as well. Okay. But we're not respectable. We're responsible. That's all we get. I heard that. If they are so smart, they should stay home and build their own country. But that's not going to happen. Well, we are looking into African culture and it's not good. Exactly. Well, okay, you said LOL block party time. They are waiting for Black Americans to do it. They they're not our concern. Yeah, they want us to do what they're supposed to do. Do you see how they want us to go help them in Africa? They won't even take care of their own first. Exactly. Africans always have their hands out. When have they helped Black Americans? Never. And yes, they're also waiting for Black Americans to marry them so that they can get those green card marriages. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now we're going to move on to something else. I have heard of this before, but this is another practice that is very despicable. And I don't know why Africans are not talking about it. What they do to albinos. Albinos in Tanzania, albinos in certain parts of Nigeria, and albinos are not safe overall in a lot of places in Africa. If y'all didn't know that, this is what they do to albinos. They have taboos and cultural practices that they do against albinos. So let me see. Okay, let's look at this. Fair use of videos, by the way, for educational purposes.
Okay. Oh, very nice. Which bed is yours? Top bunk or bottom bunk? Nice. This is yours? Baraka and Nguru are bunkmates, living and hiding in Tanzania. Does he snore at night? No? You like each other, huh? Yeah. Baraka, is it like having a big brother? Yeah. They both have albinism, a disorder marked by an absence of pigment in the skin and eyes. Does he take care of you? And when some people bully him, Migulu tells them off. So he protects you. Because he has such big muscles. They weren't born brothers, but their shared experiences have made them just that. Oh, good to see you. Their easy smiles and friendly manner mask the unspeakable cruelty they've both faced, hunted simply because of how they look. In Tanzania, albinos are thought to be ghosts, haunted beings, routinely targeted in heinous attacks motivated by superstition and greed. We traveled to the nation's largest city, Dar es Salaam, to witness firsthand the impact of the brutality. You like the green one, I can tell. Mwigulu was just 10 years old in a rural village when his life was forever changed. Do you remember what happened the night you were attacked?
Yes. Siku moja nilikuwa natoka shule. Tukaona watu wawili wanatembea. Mmoja akaniziba uso. Afu na niyo mwingine akaenda kunikata. Amikata kwanza akakosea, la pili akakata, ndio akanikata. Akachukua mkono akakimbia nao.
Attacks against persons with albinism are fueled by ignorance. Vicky Nititenma is executive director of Under the Same Sun, a Canadian NGO dedicated to the plight of these persecuted people. They think that persons with albinism are not human. If there is any disaster, there is drought, floods, hurricanes, they are blamed for that. Their body parts can be sold for thousands of dollars by local witch doctors.
The witch doctors are like gods. They tell their clients that bones and other organs of persons with albinism, if mixed with a magic potion, will make them successful, will make them win elections, will make their businesses boom, and they will help even in their love affairs.
Where is the outrage about that? What is the criticism about that? Why are the Africans not on panels talking about this fucked up practice? Nothing about that is godly. Nothing about that I care to subscribe to as a culture that I want to revere. Why don't y'all speak about this? Y'all always in our spaces, in our faces, pointing out what's wrong with us. Why can't you say anything about this, though?
Baraka was just 4 when he was attacked by bounty hunters in the dead of night.
The attackers broke into the house and just went for Baraka's arm, and they chopped off the hand. And although the mother screamed so hard, she was left alone to defend Baraka. She sustained some serious head injuries. After 2.5 years in police custody, 4 men were sentenced to decades in prison for the attack on Baraka. As for Unguru, it took more than 4 years, but the 6 men who attacked him were sentenced to 20 years in prison. These recent convictions would have been rare a few years ago, and yet, Vicky says, so many more go unreported.
Geographically, they share the same border.
For 18 years, Vicky had been a radio reporter at BBC Africa. In 2008, she risked her life in this award-winning report, posing undercover as a local businesswoman looking to buy albino body parts. After facing death threats, she went into hiding, forced to disguise herself like this. Eventually, she left journalism altogether. The last straw was when the police told me that if you continue to report, you'll be killed, and we're not going to be there to protect you. Tanzania has one of the highest rates of albinism in the world. As part of an emergency effort, the government brought the kids to this school for safekeeping. When we went to visit in 2009, it was already at capacity. How many boys sleep in this bed? 2 boys. All beds have 2 boys. Vicky's NGO helps provide supplies, and while they're now safe from violence, there's another danger: the sun. An albino in Tanzania will likely die of skin cancer in their 30s. Do we know where the baby's from? Yeah. Can I give the baby some chopsticks? This is for lips. 2009 is also when we first met Mariamu. That is so beautiful. She'd been attacked while sleeping in a hut with her son near the Rwandan border. So it's below the elbow. Left so helpless, her mother had to clothe and feed her, even take care of her 4-year-old boy, Alicia.
Kwa kweli, hii kitu kigumu sasa hivi ni kukosa kitu cha kunisaidia kama sasa hivi.
Today, she lives in that same safe house as Baraka and Runguru. As a foster mother of sorts. Mariamo just received her 3rd set of prosthetics 8 months ago in Canada, increasing her self-sufficiency by leaps and bounds.
Unbelievable. Where is the outcry about this? Why are y'all silent about this? Why aren't panels about what type of practice this is? Backward thinking and acting and attacking vulnerable people already that can't be out in the sun, and they got to worry about machetes. They got to worry about their body parts being sold to witch doctors for potions and stuff. Where's the outrage about this? Where are y'all at?
Imagine a woman with no arms running a weaving business in her safe house. Wow, they're really beautiful.
Thank you.
Surprise! And today, Vicky and the boys are celebrating Mariama's birthday. How old are you now? 34. My goodness. Do you feel like a surrogate mother to them?
Kabisa, najiona mimi kama mama yao.
I feel so happy living with these boys. Yes, it's true. I feel like a surrogate mother. I'll always speak on their behalf because I am now their voice. Today, we're making the 2-hour journey to see her biological son, Alicia, at his boarding school outside the city. How often do you get to see him? Maybe 3, 4 times, 5 times, sometimes in a year. That's all. Oh my goodness. So this is a precious visit. The last time when you saw me, I was really, really in a bad shape. He was asking me, Why aren't you hugging me? Why aren't you holding me? Can the person who chopped off your arms, can he bring back the arms so that you can use them to hold me?
That boy she was once unable to feed or hold is now 11 years old. He instinctively takes care of her and tells us he'd like to be a doctor someday.
Why do you want to be a doctor?
Before they know it, the visit's over. It's time for another difficult goodbye. On her final day, Mariamu, a devout Christian, takes her surrogate sons, Baraka and Nguru, to church. It seems to me that you have been the victim of some of the worst of humanity, and yet you have such a bright outlook on your fellow man.
It's true that I have suffered a lot. And if I had not let it go, I wouldn't have been the person I am today. And that is why I carry on.
A message of hope she wants to instill in Baraka and Nguru, who, like her, have seen so much horror in their young lives. When we come back, a medical mission. The boys meet another guardian angel, 8,000 miles away in New York City. What's the one thing you'd like to see when you get to New York? You want to see a swimming pool? Okay, well, I think we could try to arrange for that. We're with them on a life-changing quest to make them whole again.
Again, this is real cultural practices that are done against albino people. And I don't understand why there's not outrage and outcries to point out that this is demonic, that it should be outlawed, that you guys who are freed from that cultural practice that come to America and other places in the West, why aren't y'all speaking and advocating for your people to not have this continued? Instead, you guys obsess over Black Americans and what we say, what we do, how we are. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's so much stuff that y'all could be trying to work out in your own damn culture. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is little girls who are forced to marry young, and nobody seems to have any qualms about it. Y'all want to glorify African culture when little girls don't even have an option to say no. Where'd that video go? Okay, before I find that video, let me see what you guys are saying. I don't know. Where'd that video go? Did it just disappear? The information's out, though. Little girls don't have rights in Africa. And I'm not glorifying African culture. It does not make sense to do. And for Black Americans that constantly glorify that culture, you guys are sick. Sick. Let me see. Let me go back up. Okay, you said they're always waiting for Black Americans to marry them so that they can get those green cards. That's about it. Okay, I meant respectable as well. Thank you, QG. You're absolutely right. Sheila says, they also want to mate with us to increase our numbers. Doing that will Africanize us and erase Black Americans. Yeah, that's what I feel like is going on. A lot of that. They want us to be no more. And a lot of us are allowing this to happen. For Black, there is no African culture, Easy X says, does not exist. There is only ethnic and tribal cultures. No singular African culture exists. Oh, is that right? It is strange how they are very tribal on that African continent, but say to Black Americans, we the same because of skin color, but they are not the same on the African culture. That's the biggest mind fuck that you can find. That is them using, they're lying. They know damn well that they're very cultural and very tribalistic. And they know that we're nothing like them, but they want us to believe that because they can take advantage of us. That's why they do it. That's why they say that kind of stuff. They know doggone well that we're nothing like them. It's absolutely awful what they do to those albino people or kids. Pan-Africanists need to go live in Africa and pan together all of those 2,000 tribes and let us know how that works out. They will never do it. They always want to stay in Fantasyville on social media telling us what we need to be doing. Yes, Africans should be on panels yelling and screaming about the backward cultures that they've escaped from, but they never, ever do. They're on code with not exposing their culture. They all on code talking shit about us, Black Americans. What are those Black Americans doing? Why won't they do that? Why won't they come here? Why won't they visit here? Why won't they give us money? Why? Like, damn. We can talk about the literacy rate in orphanages because they love calling us baby mamas, and it's in the Caribbean too. Exactly, Charlie Shaw. How you doing? They never point out the obvious when it comes to them. And this backwards culture, shaking my head. Exactly. Leave these albino alone. They have enough problems with their health. Primitive thinking, Lynn says. Yes, Meb B, my goodness. It's crazy. They don't care. They only care what Black Americans are doing. That seems to be the case. That's why I'm doing this video, to point out, why aren't y'all talking about this? Y'all have a lot of things y'all could be talking about instead of us all the time. Albinism is a genetic problem, not a curse. So sad, the ignorance there. All of these backward practices is why African countries are third world, and they refuse to change it. The people that have fled should go back and teach their tribe individually what makes sense to do, but they won't do it because they respect their culture. They respect it from afar, though. That's why I think for Black fur content. Yeah, I don't want us to always looking at ourselves in such a bad light. It's not cool to always bash us and nobody else gets it. That's not going to happen no more. And it is sad. Yes, that's why they flee from most of these countries, but Black Americans are told to go there. Exactly. They want us to replace them over there. Exactly, Charlie. We will never see anything like that like this in Pan-African spaces. Nope, they won't point this out. And on the internet crying about having to send money home. Exactly. Facts, they flee to where Black Americans are and made the statement, we were told to stay away from Black Americans, make it make sense. I'm not even quite sure if I believe that. I think that's something that they just say. I'm not even sure. There are a lot of videos out there with Africans saying that we are the same people. They say that we do not own Blackness. Yeah, they're full of it. Damn, what's up? What's up, SN? I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sorry about that. Banerjee. Yes, they want to live close to Black Americans so that they can hijack the culture that they claim Black Americans don't have. Exactly. Damn, the first Black racist person. I'm not racist at all. I'm pointing out the culture of Africa. If you think that's racist, you need to talk to the Africans who practice these practices. I'm not practicing the practices. I'm showcasing what goes on in Africa. The best way to stay away from Black Americans is to stay in your homeland. Don't come to our home. Stay in Africa. That's how you stay away from Black Americans. It's not complicated, but that's not going to happen. Lynn, they love that lie to act like they were staying away from us and getting their success out the mud. And they come to every stronghold, Texas, Atlanta, Carolina, New York, Chicago, DMV, etc. Good video. Please subscribe. Again, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If they can sit up and have panels and talk about us every waking moment of the day about what we're doing or not doing, it's only fair that I point out what is going on in their culture that they refuse to talk about. It's not racist to point out what they are not discussing among themselves. And I'm trying to encourage them, instead of being obsessed with Black Americans every waking moment of the day, perhaps they should look deep within their culture and start pointing out what is wrong with their own culture. She got pregnant at the age of 12. The age of 12. Can you imagine? You barely started having a period at the age of 12. Ain't nobody upset about this?
Child marriage is a global issue and has devastating consequences all over the world. At least 18 million girls under 18 will be married by 2030. Stopping it isn't easy.
We believe that when we educate just one girl, that one girl can be able to change our community.
And changing cultural practices is even harder. You're watching a Toothbrush Play Billie Eilish. In 2022, Michelle Obama, Amal Clooney, and Melinda French Gates came together to announce a collaboration with the aim of ending child marriage. We've been invited to their first field trip together, and they've come to Ludzi Secondary School in Malawi.
When I was your age, there were people in my community that didn't think a girl like me, who didn't have money or wealth or connections, could do the things that I did. I even had my second form teacher tell me that I shouldn't apply to the colleges I applied to because she didn't think I could get in. So I ignored her and I applied to Princeton. I got in and I went to law school and became a lawyer. And I've worked at a university. I've run an NGO. I've done all sorts of things. So I know that there are so many girls like all of us all over the world where people are underestimating them. They're telling us what we can't do. And I refuse. You know, I see my daughters in those girls. You know, we tend to think that poverty and people who are disadvantaged, that it looks like it has a certain look.
Isn't it amazing how she can go to Africa and uplift them, but she can't do nothing like that in America? I have never heard of her in America talking to schoolgirls about what they can achieve. But she's over there in Africa. Go figure.
It's a corrugated roof. It's a mud hut. It's a place without running water or sewage. But abuse and neglect and underinvestment can happen in some of the shiniest cities in the world.
At the start of 2023, Malawi was hit by one of the deadliest cyclones recorded. More than 500,000 were affected, fueling an already entrenched poverty in the country. Esnet was 14 years old when her house was destroyed by the cyclone. There's no roof. At 15, Esnet faced the decision of choosing marriage or an education.
amene ngoroke zimene zotani chipanga sinanga ine ku school ndimakufuna kumafika fees ndi basi ndangona kuti ndipanga yoncho nanga nakarani.
Do you worry that you might be asked to get married again?
Ndi mmene mavuto makhalira panopa ndomwe ndimalipangisa kuti ndiganize basi mayanga mavutika kuti apeze ndalama chani.
These are all your sisters, Asnat is the eldest of 4 girls to a single mum, Chrissy. If we let one thing slip, it all just starts to unravel. In the United States, we're dealing with a rollback in reproductive rights, things that people thought they could take for granted. And a lot of it is because of the devaluation of women, the belief that women don't have choice and power over their own being. That's what's happening here. Advancing Girls Education Africa is a grassroots organisation that reaches girls across Malawi. Their key aim is to develop access to education as a way to challenge cultural beliefs of child marriage that are often deep-rooted in remote and rural communities. What are the reasons and the causes for child marriage? What are the conditions that lead to girls under the age of 18 getting married?
When you look at our context here in Malawi, the major aspect is poverty, because it could be a family has got so many children and the parents cannot just support them. What do? They force the girls to go get married because they'll be there, they'll be independent, they'll be supported by their husband. But also sometimes they want the husband that have married this daughter to be supporting the family. So it goes round and round and round. So to challenge those traditional and cultural beliefs, it really takes time because it deals with the mind, Also cultural practices, religion practices that really forces young girls to be so much ready by the age of 12 or 13. We believe that when we educate just one girl, that one girl can be able to change her community and her society. By educating a girl, will be able to break the cycle of poverty, because this girl, be assured, she'll be able to transform her community. She can educate other more girls. She'll be the role model, and whatever it is that she's getting once she get an education, whether she'll be employed somewhere or she'll be an entrepreneur, definitely she will not be the very same person like the parents were. I went to visit one of the programs Age Africa runs in the southern district of Mlanji. Each week, girls here meet to conduct a peer-led class. So CHARTS is an after-school program that empowers young girls in school to have that safe space where they discuss the issues that affects them most. Some of these issues include teen pregnancy, sexual health, and child marriage. Before you came to this community and before you had these classes, what were your attitudes to early marriage? Have you thought about it before? And how did this class help change your attitudes?
So it has taught me that we should listen to friends with those. Some people come with other ideas that will ruin your life. So you shouldn't take it to mind.
I was thinking that when I'm going to reach 4-4, I'm going to get married.
So 4-4 is what age?
16. My mind was about to just see what really happened in the marriage. But when I came here some effects of early marriages that have changed my mind. When a woman is not educated,
men take a very good advantage of abusing them. So we just have to be the first generation to change that mindset on men. Yeah, and I just want to have a good family without being beaten because of the men. Women are beaten by their men because they just take them like useless. I don't want to be a useless woman.
The Nano district in southern Malawi is a remote, rural area where young girls have less readily available access to help. Tamara is 13 years old, but lost both her parents before her 11th birthday and was sent to live with her grandmother. 12 million girls under 18 get married each year globally. Last year, when Tamara was 12, she found out that she was to become one of these girls, as her grandmother had sold her to a man in his 20s.
She was sold, y'all. I got married when I was 12 years old, got pregnant at 12. That is not something to be exalting. That is despicable. So she got married young and then her husband ran away and left her after doing all of that. The name of this video is from BBC World Service 3 months ago, entitled Child Marriage at 12. I was sold into marriage for $9. BBC Women, BBC World Service. That's where you can get the video at. Let me see what else you're saying. Let me go back up. Again, this is just hyphenating what Africans should be talking about on their own platforms, about their own problems, instead of always hyperly obsessing over what Black Americans are doing. Talking about us is not going to change the conditions on the ground in Africa. It makes you feel better, I suppose, to poke fun about us, but it does not change anything for you. Yes, they have too many problems on that continent to even be thinking about Black Americans. But every waking moment of the day, most of the times when Africans are speaking, they speak about us. It's weird. You said they only get close to Black Americans for the benefits and money. Yep. Michelle Obama is a very smart woman, but damn, she's a traitor to Black Americans, and her husband is not even Black American. We're learning from that flat blackness script. Yeah, we really learned when we all voted for Obama how much he did not give a damn about what is happening to Black Americans. And he used his melanated skin to convince us that he was going to give a damn about us. And he showed us more than he told us how much he did not give a damn. Michelle didn't go to low-income housing to talk. Never. I have never heard her anywhere talking about what can we do to better our situation here in America. Everybody runs to Africa. Many of the Africans marry their daughters off at young ages because they can't afford to feed them. It's sad, but they don't talk about that. Easy X, he don't care about Africans because he deported the most in history. They called him the deportee. And Chibi, I heard he did a whole lot of deportation, so he didn't care about Africans either. Cultural practice have them fleeing their homeland. Yeah, they want to avoid those practices, and then they want to come and condemn us for ours, for our freedoms and our choices. They want to ridicule that, but that's what they want, the choice and freedom that we fought for and continue to fight for. You said, Michelle, and most famous Black Americans only help Africans. They are like the Africans who won't help their own country. Exactly. They want to brag about the marriage rate like it's an upgrade. Wives and children still in poverty. The women don't have a choice most times. They're forced into that situation, whether they like it or not. So I don't see the point in worshiping their culture. Why do they always have them singing and dancing for whites? I don't know, but they always do, don't they? Because they are still colonized mentally, Charlie Shaw says. Facts, they expect us to only see flat blackness. We are not supposed to notice that they are not Black Americans. Exactly. And that's got to stop, because we're being played with and we're punking ourselves out of our own mind. Tap dancing and shucking and jiving. Yep. Conditioned to buck for biscuits. And I already read the name of the video. And Black Americans know that they owe it to their own kind to help them, but they go to another continent to help others. That's all they ever do. They totally have abandoned Black Americans. They have left us high and dry. Miss Pat, the runaway husband is now sitting at the bar in a hotel picking up tourists. Exactly. Obama probably would not have been allowed to be the president if he was a Black American. Some people think he lied about being African. You think so? No, I think he's really African. His father's from Kenya. They poke fun, but they never do an equal comparison. Put the most successful Africans in America against our most successful. They never do. It would be embarrassing. The whole point of me doing this video is I have seen for years on YouTube Pan-Africans downgrading, ridiculing, bashing so-called Black American culture. They put us in the most hideous light, and they upgrade a culture they don't know nothing about. They know nothing about African culture. But they put it on a pedestal and they say, we need to be like them. And I don't see where, how, why. But this has been going on for years and years, where no one really showcases what African culture really is. What do they really think, and what are they partaking in? We just put on a pedestal and glorify it. And it don't make sense to do, especially as a woman, because women don't have choices in Africa, as you can tell. They are robbed from their innocence with the FGM, robbed of innocence. They're maimed young. They're married young. They're forced to have kids young. Now I'm hearing you're forced to marry warlock, dead men. I never heard of that before. I did hear about the albino situation of them being cut up and body parts sold for magical potions and whatnot. But these things, Africans should be outraged that have fled Africa. There's many of them, millions of them, that could be showcasing the ills of the backward culture practices of their own people. But instead of them wanting to improve their own people's conditions, they like to, again, bash Black Americans as a sport, to ridicule us and make us feel less than. And a lot of dumb Black Americans allow themselves to be tricked into believing that they're nothing and nobody based off of what Africans on YouTube are claiming, that they're superior. They have a culture. What culture do you have? It sounds like hell, especially to women. This worship of African culture has got to stop. And this is why I showcase these videos, so that you can get an inkling of an idea why you shouldn't be worshiping their culture, because there is nothing about it that is superior. Nothing about it. You said, yeah, Pan-Africanism is brought in a whole lot of lies to Black Americans, and a whole lot of Black Americans dumbly believe in the lies. They leave all this out when they speak of their culture. Yeah, they leave it all out. They say, oh, we stay together. We stay married. Yeah, the woman at a young age, a little girl, is subjugated to the man and she don't have nowhere else to go. She's forced. Congratulations, your family stay together by force. Only as minority in Africa carry out FGM. There's a lot more than what you're saying. Nah, there's a lot more than what you're saying. No, we're not one blood. Get out of here with the lie. So let's get back to that. We're not one blood. We're one people, Black Americans.
And how much money did he give your grandmother to marry you?
15,000.
He was beating her every time she did something wrong. She don't look happy to me. This culture don't look superior to me. There is nothing about it I am missing out on. I wish y'all would stop lying to us.
Child marriage has been illegal in Malawi since 2017, but there have been few prosecutions.
What's the point of having a beautiful constitution that protects, girls from child marriage if the girls who are the victims of this don't know about it? So we formed a network of mobile legal aid clinics, which means literally there's a van that goes out with lawyers and we go out in a community and say to girls, these are your rights, and if you need a lawyer for free to protect you, that's what we are here to provide. This is actually the first time we've been able to reach this part of Malawi. We are focusing on child marriage because we know this is a big problem in this part of Malawi. We're going to try and meet with as many people as we can this afternoon, including in private sessions, but you can also call the Women Lawyers Association of Malawi anytime by just dialing 3081. So the first thing was for Malawi to change its law so it did say the right thing on paper, which they did, and the rate has gone down since then, but not enough. So, giving people access to the courts, and this is what we do, is fight for girls' rights in the courtroom. That's going to be a big piece, but we're also not naive enough to think that that's the only piece.
Our main strategy is to use the law to make sure that child marriage is eliminated. Part of what we do is to organize mobile legal clinics, and we go in rural communities, so remote communities far from our offices, where there is little knowledge of what the law provides. So awareness is a crucial part of the work that we do. These girls, I've talked to many of them, they do have ambitions. It's not that they want to get married. They have ambitions. They're like, oh, I see Madam so-so, she's a teacher, I'd like to be like her. 1 year down the line, she's in marriage and she has a baby. The other problem of having laws and enforcing them is sometimes it drives the practice underground. Right. Now, when it goes underground, it becomes very difficult for one to actually know that it's happening and to do something about it. So that could be the major problem, that if the practice goes underground, then we'd have to come up with a different strategy now to deal with that. But it's possible.
Again, this is their own words. I'm not making it up. And I'm looking up in the Wikipedia about the FGM for the person that claimed that I'm widespreading it. Let me read this. Female genitalia mutilation, or FGM, is again known as female genitalia cutting, female genitalia mutilation cutting, or circumcision they want to call it, but I don't call it circumcision. It is mutilation. It is maiming the little girl. And it's a ritual cutting or the removal of some of all of the vulva. The practice is found in some countries of Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, and within their respective diasporas. As of 2023, UNICEF estimates that at least 200 million girls in 31 countries, including Indonesia, Iraq, Yemen, and 27 African countries. 27 African countries, including Egypt, have been subjugated to one or more types of FGM. So they don't even get a chance to get away from that practice. They are done dirty at a very young age. What is there to revere? Why are Africans outraged by that? Why aren't they speaking up about that? Why aren't they pissed off about that? Instead of being, always in our face, talking to us about what we're not doing, can't you talk about what you're not doing for your own culture and your own people? These little girls sure could use some advocacy.
Would have to come up with a different strategy now to deal with that, but it's possible.
Chiefs or village headmen are the local leadership in rural communities across Malawi. Their leadership is essential for any meaningful change to happen with cases of child marriage, such as Tamara.
Ntchito ya village headman ndi kuyang'anira kapena kutsogolera anthu mmudzi. Ndikuti uyu amene ali ndi zaka 18 kutsika pansi salovomerezeka kuti angalowe m'banja. Ndikuti olo ifeso mafumu maukwati amenewo sitimavomereza.
Why do you think there's such a high number of girls under the age of 18 getting married in Malawi?
Thank
you. Jabwe. Zifuwazi singakhale chimodzi, zifuwazi zibo zingapo. One, umphawi. Pamene kuchititsa kuti ana athu azichita zimenezo.
Is there an issue that you're facing when parents want their children to get married, their girls to get married, and you have to then intervene?
Makolo ena amatha kufika koma mauza kuti ayi mwanayi nthawi yokwatiwa sinakwani, mwanayi ndi nthawi kuti apangeza chani za sikulu. Makolo ena amatha kufika ndithu kuti ayi mwana wangayu wamkulu wakwana, timauza kuti ayi katengeni khadi limene mumagwisa ntchito kusikelo tilione ngati mwanayi zaka zake zatani kuti zakwana, koma mwanayi ife timankana kuti ayi mwanayi ngwakusukulu.
Are there any marriages of girls that you know in this area of girls under 18?
Ayi, palibe. Sitingathe kwatolera pepa yawo chifukwa chonena kuti mudzi momwe anthu ambiri monga ngati muja tunene nambala ya anthu, ifeyo ena timangwadzona kuti awa ndi munthu omwe a George. Koma kuti tidziwe kwenikweni za mabanja kuti uyu ali ndi ana angapo mudzi ulite ni nyumba iliyonse, sitingathe kutani kuti sitingathe kudziwa.
Koma akapezeka ndi amene ifeyo timathetsa maukwati amenewo, ndiye kuti mwachidule pano padakati panopo tilibe. Ngati alipo kapena akuchitika mwachisisi kuti ifeyo situkudziwa.
Do you think child marriage is a problem?
Ndifuto ndithu.
Futo.
There you have it, y'all. I'm not making fun of what this culture is about. I just want Black Americans who are clueless, who go out on the limb of praising and revering African culture without even doing your research to understand what you are revering. Women don't have choices in Africa overall. They don't. And it is nothing that I am missing out on by claiming my culture superior to African culture. I have a choice to marry or not marry. I have a choice to have kids or not have kids. I have a choice to lead my life how I want and see my life to be. That's what many Africans are fleeing Africa to get the same rights that our ancestors fought and died for. And for us to shamelessly, disrespect what our ancestors have done, that others revel over, they long for, it's despicable. And for us to put other people's cultures without doing the research to understand that there's nothing about their culture that is really reverable, especially as a woman, maybe as a man, some of you Black American men, you incels, want us to believe that being in Africa is better because you want to be able to have your foot and hand on our head. You want to be able to try to subjugate us. That's why you're preaching this go back to Africa. And that's why I be pointing out the obvious, that you guys don't care about what happens to women overall. That's why you want to have us go to Africa, because you're hoping for a chance to do what other men are doing to other women. And again, I'm just pointing out the obvious, what Africans themselves should be doing. If I was African, if I had fled Africa, I definitely would be exposing all these things so that the world would know what is happening for real in Africa. I would not be trying to be hushed about it. I would not be trying to clean it up and claim that the culture is better and picking on Black Americans who have nothing to do with African culture. We didn't make the culture. We didn't cause the conditions on the ground of Africa for little girls to be married young and have all these other things happen to them. That is y'all people doing those things to little girls. And y'all should be saying and speaking up for them instead of always in our faces telling us what we ought to do. You're not our God. We're not listening to y'all like y'all think we should, because there's no reason to. You have fled to get away from the cultures that you don't want to expose. Leave us alone already and go deal with your own issues. That's what I want y'all to go do. Let me see. They poke fun, but they never do an equal comparison. Put the most, okay, I read that. Yes, they're disgusting. For River says, for Black, they leave all this out when they speak on their culture. Yeah, they do. That's why I brought it up, so that whenever you hear them speaking about how grand their culture is, you can let them know what it really is about. They all fled to the United States and waved their country flags. It's strange to sit in another country and brag about a country you had to flee. They would crocodile tears if they were made to go back. Exactly. But they want us to go and replace them and go to Africa. And dumb birds believe in what they're selling. That's the part that kills me. For Black Righteous Folks, great show on yesterday on these con artists. Thank you for that. Hi, why there is discrimination in the world for color and poverty? No, we're pointing out what is happening in Africa that Africans dare not talk about because they're too gung-ho, convinced that they need to convince us that they're superior over us. That's why they don't talk about these things. And I think that it's high time that we bring out what they dare not talk about. They keep making excuses saying only a few countries in Africa practice their backwards practices, but it seems all 54 countries practices weird things. 27 is a lot. 200 million people worldwide practices that FGM. Praise God, FMG rather, or FGM. Praise God, we have never been exposed to that. Praise the Lord. Many African women are living sad lives. Exactly. Forced MGs or GMs, forced marriages, domestic violence, exactly, poverty, etc. Prayer is not admiration is what's needed. Exactly. Africans want to hide their mistakes, trials, tribulations, bring their asses to America and talk shit to Black Americans. That's all they do. That's why I did this video, so that, in other words, they can see them for what, so they know that I know and others know what their culture is really about. I didn't even get to the money ritual part. I'm going to save that for another time. The money rituals, the other practices that they do to make money, you know, killing people for body parts and all these types of things that they don't talk about either. I'll talk about on another live. For Black, they want us to come correct us on generalizations, but don't extend us the same courtesy. Oh yeah, they say don't generalize. But when it comes to us, they don't do that to us. They act like we all live in Chicago in gangs. So until they respect us, we aren't a monolith. They will be Africans. Exactly. We don't do rituals on each other. We are not the same. Exactly. Why people don't not work on the education, society, welfare, and healthy lifestyle. I don't know why. I had to remind a South African bus driver when he wanted to speak on black homicide in America, how they burnt Nigerians to death for so-called invading their country. He went silent. Exactly. If you point out what they're about, then they'll shut up. Female castration has to be one of the most ghoulish act on another human being. Ghoulish act, rather. Yeah. When I heard about that, I just learned about that practice just 2-3 weeks ago. And I was like, oh my God. And it's actually happening right now in Gambia, where they're trying to overturn the ban of the FGM. And I don't know why Africans are not, or especially Gambians, are not really speaking up for them, advocating for them. They're not saying shit. They might say it in passing real quick, but they're not staying on the topic long enough to really expose how demented and fucked up that is for little girls and women. They leave just a little hole for you to pee out of and have your period blood out of. All that pain and suffering that they go through, infections and all that. But they want to talk about Black Americans, though. Yeah, they have the nerve to criticize us. That's all they do, is criticize us. And so I wonder what they're going to say about this video. Are they going to respond and finally give attention to their own culture, is what I want to know. He's correct. The parents are forcing marriages on their daughters due to poverty. Yep. And yes, female castration is the worst. Their aims is to take the pleasure out of having sex away from women and make the vagina a workhorse for the men. Exactly. They don't give a damn about how little girls and women feel. How are we going to revere a culture like that? That don't make sense. Most Black Americans don't even know what African culture practices are. Panties keep pushing Africa on Black Americans without pointing out the culture. No, they don't. They make it seem like wearing the dashiki and eating their food is all we need to know. There's a lot more than just eating food. I think people of Africa should speak up to get rid of the situation. Yeah, it's their place to speak up. What's keeping them from speaking, though? Because they want us to revere them. Some of these Black American men want to do to their women. I know they wish that they had the opportunity to treat women the way African men get away with treating their women. They dream of the day. They are silent in these countries, but as soon as they get here, they're loud with propaganda against us. Yes, they are. They finally find their voice to talk shit about us. Isn't that amazing? There is no woman right there, no freedom of speech, no right to bear arms, etc. So why are we revering them? That's the part. There must be choice for everyone to live their life as they wish. Exactly. And since that is not the case, I don't think Africans have a place to be talking shit about what we do. There is a channel of a woman from Uganda, East Africa, has over 3,000 videos. Over half is with name Black Americans or Black people. African ain't Black people and never called themselves Black in Africa. Certainly, all of them are calling themselves Black. Certainly, they all want the label of Black. Some of the Black American men want to take advantage of their women like the Africans are doing to their own. That's exactly what they're dreaming of. They're mad because they can't do nothing against us in America and get away with it. That's why they don't want to be here anymore, because they don't want to be sensible and decent human beings to women. They want to be able to slap a woman or to beat her up or cause bodily harm to her and make her have to listen to him. They don't have the option over here in America. That's what I love about America, right there. Thank you. That's exactly why they do it, so the woman can't live a sad, okay, with no pleasure. Yeah, no pleasure with having sex, just pain. That's crazy to me. I think it's possible he is partly Black American. He looked absolutely nothing like the guy, the African he claims is his father. I'm not sure which one you mean. Africans and panties need to keep Black Americans out their mouths, and we will keep Africans out of our mouths. I never talked about Africans until the last few years, and that's because they kept talking about Black Americans every time I turned around. I said, okay, let me do some research on what African culture is about. Let me learn about what is going on in Africa. And that's when I discovered all the hidden little secrets that they don't like telling. Yes, Obama's lineage is questionable. That's why they were asking for his birth certificate. People said it was racist to ask him, but that wasn't why they were asking. I know they made everything about race when it came to Obama. Wasn't that a trip? Yes, I never thought about that. Many conservatives think his father is Black communist out of Chicago. Who was Black American? I don't know. And that's why Africans should stay in their country. Many of them flee because of the backwardness, but I still support it when they leave. They don't respect us, so I don't care about if they leave or stay. I mean, they don't respect us, so Africans gave up on Africa, especially the ones who left. Their love for Africa is fake. It is, because they never stay in Africa. Yes, you are so correct on female castration, shaking my head. I disagree with some American Black men want to engage in FMG. The American Black men I know love their mothers. Those incels are majority foreigners. Black men love looking at pretty cookies. Some of the ones on YouTube, you'd be surprised. You'd be really surprised to hear them speak up about, too much freedoms for women. And they dream of the day where we lose rights and we be subjugated like other women. That's what they're mad about, not being able to tell us what to do and how to do it. And it's not like they want to better us. They want to just have control. That's why these Pan-African incels are very dangerous. And you need to, that's why I call them out when I do. So in conclusion, y'all, I appreciate y'all for coming through. I hope that Africans now will get the memo and start talking more about their backward cultures and practices that is infringing on the rights of little girls and women, and want to help advocate for those people that are left behind. They've left their own culture. They assumed ours, and then they're nitpicking about what we're not doing and what we do and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't make sense. Share the energy. There is my last video before I go, I found a YouTuber who was talking about how Africans look at us when we go to Africa. And they have a saying called Ubruni, money don't finish. And she's saying that basically when Africans see us, foreigners, Americans, or whoever come from somewhere else, they look at us as being rich. They look at us having long money that never ends. So they basically think that anything that they do against us is okay because we have money that never goes away in their mind. I want you to hear what she has to say, and then I'm going to conclude this video. But this is what we need to understand. We're a money bag to most of these Africans. We're a money bag. There ain't no love when it comes to visiting on the ground unless you do have money.
About this concept of broody money don't finish. I hear this saying every day now that I'm taking public transit because of the situation with the car. And I thought this was a good time to talk about it. So the word Obruni, if you're not familiar, I'm in Ghana, and the word Obruni is essentially a white person, but it also can double as a stranger. So similar to Swahili, when you say Mzungu or Wazungu, it can double white person or stranger. But this concept that the person money doesn't finish, that someone's money doesn't run out, is something that it's really, really pressing, and it needs to be discussed. But oftentimes it needs to be discussed on the Ghanaian side. Like diasporans, we get that our money runs out. But for whatever reasons, when you're dealing with foreigners have this concept that our money is just everlasting, doesn't run out, and therefore they build this their entire behavior, their whole socialization about money when it comes to foreigners is extremely poor, very parasitic. And so that's why I was like, how do we have this discussion? So small background or light background, I tend to reveal a little more about myself. I grew up in foster care and group homes. So I didn't have the luxury of being able to depend on my family members for any type of assistance. So when people look at me and they be like, oh, she has it all together, and woo. No, I've worked my ass off for it. Like literally, I've worked my ass, eyes, nose, ears, everything off for it. And this concept that I have just unlimited amounts of money where people can continue to steal is extremely painful and unfortunate. People they surmise all these things. They make these deductions based off of random weirdness that they've been picked up in their lives. But being here in Ghana as a woman who's I've always wanted to take care of myself. I didn't ever want to be in a man's pockets because it's really strange, like this hypergamous journey that a lot of women are on, and I'm okay with that. Like I'm totally with that. But my reality was watching other women growing up, and they were in these relationships but they were unhappy. Many of them, not all of them, but many of them were unhappy. And I would say to myself, you know what? I need to have my own money because I don't want to go through this. I don't want to be in a situationship. So like I said, I see a lot of women and men in relationships, and they would say they were married or boyfriend and girlfriend, but the truth of the matter, when you looked at the relationship, they were actually just roommates. And excuse me for saying, they were fucking roommates, essentially friends with benefits type of thing. So that's the backstory. Growing up in foster care and group homes, working my ass off, getting here to a country where the men, even though they want to consider themselves men and be masculine, they're actually very feminine in their behavior because they're quick to ask for things like a woman. Just a lot of random behavior. So in many ways, I feel like I'm talking to women who just have appendages. And so they switch from one woman wanting to be provided for like a woman, and then talking about, you can't treat me like, don't talk to me like no small boy. Well, pick one. You can't be both. And so going back to this narrative of Obruni money don't finish, all of these things that have happened to me, that has continued to happen to me since setting foot and settling here, has been because of this rationale, this socialization that foreigners' money never runs out. And so they are quick to use that as an excuse to justify bad behavior. And so this is, like I said, this is a discussion or dialogue that we can have amongst one another because we understand. But clearly this is something that needs to be had on the other side as well, on the other fence, the diasporan, on the Ghanaian fence. And people need to, if you are aware and you have this exposure and understanding, please explain this to people. And so one of the frustrations that I keep running into is that people are talking about, you just haven't met the right people. You just haven't met the right people. And I keep telling them, it's not like I can go pick up the right people at a Malcolm's or a ShopRite. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me go and pick that up. Like it's a bag of rice for 80 pesos or 80 CDs or something. It's not like I can run, and sorry about that, like I can run and pick those things up. So My issues are talking about anything to do with money here. Anything goes when it comes to money. When I say anything goes, romance scamming is top of the list when it comes to money. There are we need protections, no matter where we are, diasporans or expats. We need some type of protection, because what's happening is this money grab is literally causing so many people to come here and lose their life savings and their love for Africa and its people. We have lost so much because of this.
People are losing their life savings, like I've been saying, like I predict is going to continue to happen. We are cash cows in Africa. People see you as long money. They're scamming, romance scams. They're lining you up. They're taking from you. They're robbing you. They're doing everything under the sun. And we're running around talking about these are people.
This entitlement behavior where people feel like they deserve to have access to your money, and then the laws that are not necessarily not in place, but they're not enforced. And then when you work to go enforce it, like if you have to take it to court, the process that everyone knows is going to take time. And so people literally have a very lackadaisical approach to what's the word I'm looking for? But like I said, this concept of opening money don't finish. We need to have this discussion, diasporan, Ghanaian, wherever you are, but I'm in Ghana right now, this expat discussion, this opening money don't finish is extremely damaging to the country, to the people. It's detrimental to the diasporan population. And I'm repeating myself, but it doesn't seem to be sinking in with people. And so, lastly, if we have this discussion, we have to put our hypersensitivities aside. Like, seriously. I mean, I've had people get mad at me because I crossed my legs, literally. I mean, fall out, cuss, yell, and everything, just because I crossed my legs. And if you don't know, being in Ghana, especially if you're amongst higher rank individuals like a police commander or even a judge or something like that, people take offense to you crossing your legs. People know I'm a foreigner here. How the fuck was I supposed to know that? Put the hypersensitivities aside. And I was really grateful.
Crossing your legs? Wow. Damn.
When that happened to me, when I was amongst the police commander, because he was the highest ranking person in the room, and he understood it was not, like, no one had ever mentioned it to me. Put your hypersensitivities aside. This is not someone who's coming in to be intentionally rude and disrespectful. It is clearly a sign of someone not knowing, and you educate them, and they fix it. Like, literally, I apologized emphatically and was like, okay, you know, honestly, this had nothing to do with it. He knew it. But the other people in the room, baby, fell out, yelled, screamed, obscenities. Not kidding. So, on both sides, we need to be able to have a...
Can you imagine you just cross your legs and you being cussed out of your wits? Her name is Inez Finley. I'm going to keep up with her because she's in Ghana. She's fairly new. She only has 54 subscriptions. Please subscribe to her. But she describes how she's treated and how if you don't do something right, you can get cussed out. Things could be viewed as being disrespectful in their culture. But they don't trip off of child marriage, though. They don't trip off of FGM. They don't trip off of all these other things, money rituals and sacrifice and all these other crazy things that they do. But they want to trip off of you crossing your legs. Unbelievable. Anyways, let me see what you're saying. Yeah, they see us as cash cows. And until we get that, a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money, though, believing the hype of those are people. Those people want your money. That's what they want. And that's what they're getting. And unfortunately, many of us is going to learn the hard way when it's too late. It's interesting to find out about many of these African countries was established within the last 70 years. I always heard about the African independence movement of the 1950s. They are so tribal that they put tribe over everything else. They do. But they tell us on platforms that we're all the same. Unbelievable. They definitely see us as cash cows. Ain't no love lost. Because they know that Black Americans come from a country that won't let them starve, live in the streets, and be abused without recourse. That's changing, though, for Rivers, GD, as you can see what Biden's doing with the immigration illegals. That's slowly but surely changing, but we still could appreciate the fact that we have freedoms and rights, and we're not forced into marriages. We're not forced to do stuff against our will. At least we got that much. You said, I heard the men do funny things for money. The men have to wear diapers in Gambia. It's so bad. What? That's nasty, Lynn M says. I just told you her channel. She's talking facts. Easy X says, this is eye-opening for Black Americans. Most of not all third world people see us as the money bag. That's what it is. And until we understand that that's what's going on, a lot of us are going to lose a lot of money. Trusting and believing and going to Africa. And that's why I do my videos, to warn y'all, to showcase what is the truth, and to stop Pan-Africans and $5 Africans from lying to us. Yes, many of the African countries are newly established, some of them. Yes, because in third world countries, there are usually no safety nets to help people like in first world countries. Exactly. That's why a lot of people are jealous of us, because we don't have to suffer like many other people around the world. It's like we fought for those rights, though. We died for those rights, though. That's why we have them. If we didn't fight and die, we wouldn't have those rights. But they don't see that part. They don't think about that part. It's just, you're not suffering like we are. Lynn M says they got upset because she crossed her legs. Yes, I cannot believe, because she crossed her legs. Thanks to social media, all of this is being exposed, the good, the bad, and the ugly from all countries on the planet. Exactly. There is no excuse in being ignorant today. If you are ignorant, you're choosing to be, because all the information is available at your fingertips. There's no excuse. What's wrong with getting with an older, possibly divorced man? I never heard of young women having issues when they travel. A lot of them are having problems in the Gambia. All those deaths that have happened, and anyone is looking at us again as cash cows. We have to be very vigilant, because other people have ulterior motives with trying to get green cards, and they're trying to use us and spit us out. That's what's going on right now. That's what the scamming is all about. So we do have to be vigilant and be careful and mindful that a lot of people see us as an opportunity, not wanting to bless us, but to get over on us. That's what's going on. But Africans are not talking about that, though. Now are y'all? That's what people subject themselves to when they go to backwards countries. Any little thing could offend them, and the low IQ gun-carrying military police are scary. Yeah, it is. So I really appreciate everybody for listening. I don't think that I'll be on a live tomorrow because I need to take a break. But I just wanted to showcase the types of things that Africans that's in the West could talk about, but they refuse to talk about. Why? Because for whatever reason, they want to look bigger in our eyes. And for some that don't do the research and look into their culture, some of y'all are fooled into believing that they are better than us. Their culture is superior than ours. But if you really dive in and look around, you will see that it's perverted. A lot of that is demonic, and it should not be revered, in my opinion. You guys can have your own opinion. That's on you. But I feel the way I feel because I am a woman. And I thank God every day that I do not have to be subjected to the types of things that other women around the globe are subjected to. People need to fight their government to have safety nets. The men over there have to fight instead of oppressing their women. But they only care about oppressing women, it seems. And what really irritates me is when Africans or any immigrant comes to the United States and cosplays us, then try to tell us what we should do. That's effed up and disrespectful. Yeah, everybody feels like they have a right to try to dictate to Black Americans what we're supposed to think about, feel like, act like, and be like. And y'all have got to let them know that you're not going for it. And this is the reason why. You know, we're okay being what we are. And that should not change because you talk to someone online. Okay, so thank you for appearing. Please like and share the video. I guess I could play a song before I go. Let me play an old school song before I go. Well, not to forget, here's another thing that they do. If you steal, sometimes you could be accused of being a stealer, a thief, and you could be put on fire for that. Look at this. That was before they were put on fire. They were put on fire because they were caught stealing. That's what they do in other countries that we take for granted in America. That does not happen here. They flee here and attach themselves to our lineage, culture, history, and accomplishments with we, us, our. They use all the time. Exactly. And then when they want to bash us, then it's our culture. We're superior to you. That's the kind of stuff I do not like. And that's why I do the videos that I do, to try to make reality known to us, because I think that a lot of us just takes the words of what Africans say online as being the truth and gospel. And y'all dumb that do that. I don't care if you go visit and have a good time. What do they live like for real though? That's the question. What really happens for real though to women, to little girls? That's what we should be honed in on, not the fantasies that they tell you to believe in. And that's what Pan-Africans are constantly trying to have us do, is believe in the lies. Let me play this song by DeBarge. Keep loving yourself, Black Americans. Stop letting Africans bash you into believing that you're nothing. Because if you look at their culture, you can find what I've shown and find some pride in what you got going on. Let me see if I can find, is that song copywritten? Hold on. What song do you want to hear, Easy X? That is some serious street justice going on right there. Yeah. Put on fire if you're caught for stealing. And we're supposed to feel shameful about our culture. A lot of that stuff we could change in a heartbeat if we just decided to change our own way of doing things. And hopefully with P. Diddy and others like him being exposed, we won't be glorifying celebrities no more and their trash that they have brought to our culture to wake us up. But here's when we were doing our best, when we were playing good music. This is the Gap Band.
my side. Free. Love me back, my guy. Oh, baby. Gonna keep running. My heart is yearning for your love. My heart is yearning for your love. My heart is a yearning for you. Let me inside your love. Oh, my heart is a yearning for you. Let me inside your love. You're all keep running, keep running out of my life. 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 Oh, yeah. You can't keep running in and out of my life. You can't keep running in and out of my life. You can't keep running in and out of my life. You can't keep running in and out of my life. You can't keep running in and out of my life. You can't keep running in and out of my life. You can't keep running in and out of my life. You can't keep running in and out of my life. Out of my life. Keep running out of my life.
Old school in the house. Now, I don't know what song this is at all, Easy Axe, but I'm going to trust you and play it. I think it's not copywritten because it's only 145 subscribers. So I'm going to take a chance and play it. If you guys enjoyed any of the music or any of the topic, it's just me being showcasing things that are not showcased to Black Americans and beyond. I feel that Africans need to be blunt and bold about their own culture and their own situation versus being so blunt and bold about ours, Black Americans. It needs to change to transition to talk about what they could be fixing in their own backyard. Here's the last song. I don't even know what this is called. EPO? I have no idea.